Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Marla with Mad About Cards and Crafts, and today I am featuring a mixed media card using products from Elizabeth Craft Design and Tim Holtz. I have the Elizabeth Craft Designs Hope Stamp and Die Set. This has several different florals and leaves, and then I'll be using the coordinating dies. I have a piece of Canson XL watercolor paper that's been cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches, some Brutus Monroe media paste, and I have the Happy Patterns stencil pack from Elizabeth Craft Designs. There are 10 stencils in this pack. They measure 3.1 inches by 5.3 inches. I think that they are fantastic, especially if you are using them for mixed media or for art journaling and you're not looking to cover your entire cardstock with the pattern. This is perfect. So I'm going to start with this pattern right here. You'll notice that I have it close to the center of my card. I wanted to start in the middle so that it would be much easier for me to add the paste around what I've already stenciled. So I'm adding the paste smoothly, cleaning off any excess over the top. I'll start around the left side, and I'm not worrying about whether I'm getting a full, like they're little flowers. I'm not worried about whether I'm getting full ones. I'm just adding little bits here and there. I'm going to show you a close-up of the card. On the right side, I'm going to add just a little bit more. And then I do set it aside to dry for about 45 minutes before I come back. I'm using some distress sprays from Tim Holtz. I've spritzed my paper with some water and added the Salvaged Patina and prized ribbon. I'm going to spritz a little bit more water onto this, and then I'm going to move it around. You'll notice that because that paper is saturated with the ink and with water, that I get a little bend in the card, and that's going to cause pooling on the edges. I just used my microfiber cloth to pick some of that up. I started with Distress Spray, as I mentioned. This time I'm using Distress Oxide, which is a little bit more opaque. I have Speckled Egg, and then I go over it with a little bit of water. I felt like I lost some of the vibrancy, so I add some more of that prized ribbon, a little more Salvaged Patina, and then of course I added some more water. You'll notice how much it really dries back right there. I did use my Ranger heat tool to dry it, and then I'm going to put some water in the palm of my hands, and I'm just going to clap over my panel so that I get that color, that oxidation, the splatters onto the background. Now, I shouldn't have taken this ink directly to paper. I have some white pigment ink from Hero Arts. It's Unicorn White. Pigment ink will allow me to do some embossing, so I did get a little bit of that blue onto my ink pad. I would recommend smushing it onto your glass mat and then adding it, but that's not what I did. So I went ahead and added some of the Tim Holtz Embossing Glaze in prize ribbon. Embossing Glaze is more translucent than your embossing powder, so it will take on some of the properties of the color underneath. Because I was going blue on blue, I was able to maintain that prize ribbon color. I added a little bit of text from a mindfulness stamp set, which is part of the Beautiful Blooms collection as well. I wanted that added texture in the background. When I added the embossing powder, what I was going for was trying to get where I had the paste. I just added the embossing powder over where the paste was, trying to get those patterns to stand out a little bit more, and I was able to achieve that. I have a piece of black cardstock. I cut it down to 4 by 5 1/4, and then I'm going to cut it in half, both length and widthwise. I cut my patterned background down in 1/4 of an inch smaller than that, and then I cut it in half both ways as well. This gave me even pieces and made for easy layering. Now I'm going to add these squares to a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch top folding card base. I went back and forth about what color I wanted to use, and I settled on using white because I liked having that brightness in the background. You're noticing that I lost some of that stamping when I cut my panels, so I was just adding a little bit more of it back, and I'm going to place my panels right here onto that card base. And I'm leaving just a little bit of a border in between each of them and on the sides. When I stamped my sentiment, that wording on my background, I did use VersaFine Black Onyx ink. I have a piece of Copic friendly paper. It's Copic Express It paper, and I have some Salvaged Patina Distress Oxide ink. Distress Oxide ink does stamp nicely, especially with a Misti in Salvaged Patina, and I stamped the word hope. The Elizabeth Craft Designs Beautiful Blooms stamps do have coordinating dies that are available, and the coordinating dies do cut out the words as well as the images. I started with a little bit of coloring. I believe I used some B30 markers, and then I'm going to feel like I want a little bit darker, so I'm going to add some B99, and then I'll finish once I get all of my shadowing in. I'm just going to use 2 colors, and I'll finish off with a B97, and I really like the way that this color came out. I was looking for something that was going to coordinate well with my background. I didn't want to go with a high contrast. I kind of wanted to keep it fairly monochromatic. For the stems of my flowers, I stuck with that blue-green, and now I'm going to use my coordinating dies. As I mentioned, it will cut out the sentiment, but the other thing that I really appreciate about these dies is that it is going to cut out between the stems, so the dies are very detailed. I'm going to run it through my die cutting machine, and then I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the back of both the sentiment and the florals, and I'm going to add them to my card. So I didn't use foam tape on this at all. Everything has been glued directly down on top of each other. I had a little bit of extra glue right there on that hope word, and I just rubbed some of it off on the back of the floral. Once I place this down, you'll notice I didn't color the center of my flower, and I did that consciously because I'm going to add some white gel pen just to add a little bit of detail and help that larger flower stand out just a little bit more, and then that will finish off my card for today. I'll have everything that I used linked in the description box below. I want to thank you so much for using those links if you're interested in any of the products, because it really does help support my channel. I'm going to give you a final look at my card. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Make sure that you're subscribed so you know when I upload a new video. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day. Thanks for watching.